It's my pleasure and my honor to welcome all of you who are here to join us for what will be, I'm sure, a very informative and certainly a very important evening together with the COR. And it's certainly a distinct pleasure that I'm able to just say a word or two before I ask the representatives of the COR to come up and to take your questions and to talk and introduce everything. I've had the privilege in my career to spend most of my time working with people who are newcomers to Jewish life, people who have not had the opportunity for much of their life to be able to learn and to grow in a Jewish way. And one thing that I always learned from them was how much they all seemed to love Pesach. Pesach seems to be, as odd as it sounds, probably one of the most beloved Jewish holidays. Contrast that to when I ask them about if they could tell me of any other important Jewish holidays, and of course they go through the gamut of all of them other than one. That one is always the holiday of Shavuos. The holiday of Shavuos seems to be the overlooked, forgotten holiday by many of the Jews. And one has to wonder why that is. And I believe that if we look in the Rambam, he addresses this issue. The Rambam says that if you ever want to convey a message, an ethical Torah message, from one generation to the other, you have to do so with an action. It's not simply speaking, but there must be an action, a mitzvah involved with it. And if we look at all of the holidays, they all have various mitzvahs, they have various actions that are all a part of what that holiday is to us. Anything from lighting candles for Hanukkah to lighting candles for Shabbos, to fasting on Yom Kippur, to having apples and honey on Rosh Hashanah. But every one of them, from customs to the essence of the holiday itself, have an action, except really for the holiday of Shavuot. There is really no Torah mitzvah that's given to us that we are to do on that day. And because of that, the Rambam seems to tell us that it is one of the more forgotten holidays. And he explains that not only is that why it's one of the more forgotten, he says, but the more actions and the more effort put into the idea of what that holiday stands for, the more beloved that that holiday is. And therefore, as I know how much work that people put into the holiday of Pesach, especially the women, who spend hours and hours, and that's an underestimate, of time putting everything together, from cleaning their home to going through pockets of clothes to moving farm around to cooking to preparing, and all of the hours and hours and hours of work. And we all say how difficult it is, and we complain about it, and I get people coming and they're depressed and they're worried and they're afraid. But when it gets down to it, it's one of our most beloved holidays. And it is for that very reason. In fact, it wasn't that long ago I spoke with one of my members who was invited to go away for Pesach, to go to a Pesach hotel, and who could imagine a better way than to go away? You don't have to do all of that work. And not only that, you get a vacation on top of it. But they came back and told me that it was probably the least enjoyable Pesach of their life. And they said the reason was because they didn't put any effort into it. They didn't really have to clean their house. They didn't really have to cook and prepare and do all of the things we do. And while they did get to enjoy the Seder and enjoy Pesach, they didn't have that same feeling. And this evening is a symbol of just that, of all of the work and all of the time that we put in as we face new technology and new ideas and new things that can impede or help us in the keeping of Pesach. It shows us how very important it is for us to be kosher, educated consumers. And that is really the role of the COR. The COR, not only on Pesach, but of course for Pesach, are really the governor of making it possible for us to be able to have a life that is filled with kosher items and kosher places to go, and to be able to celebrate Pesach in a way that is appropriate and a way that becomes beloved to us. I had a call today from one of my members. And he begins the call, which was not as odd as you may think, by saying, I have to complain. And I don't know if you're the one to complain to, but you're the one I got. So he told me that he was in one of the supermarket chains today and that he had purchased his Pesach food. Right? He had spent a few hours with his wife purchasing Pesach food, and he knew that his grandchildren were coming and that they wanted chocolate. And so through all of the items that he purchased, he also went to purchase some chocolate. Now this is an educated fellow, and he went to look at the chocolate in the Pesach section, and he read the Hashgacha in Hebrew. And it said that this chocolate bar is kosher for the entire year other than Passover. And it was in the Passover section, and he called to complain to me, how can they put non-kosher Passover food in the Passover section? And it hit me. The store that he went, of course, is like any store that we go to, but it doesn't have supervision. It doesn't have hashgacha. And it became clear to me how important and how significant it is when the COR goes into a supermarket and has the ability to go into a supermarket and to make it so that you and I can go into the kosher for Passover section, and for the overwhelming amount of things that we see, we know that we're buying something kosher. Not that someone can't make a mistake, but it's a world of difference. We don't have to be looking at every minute aspect, because the COR is the organization, the institution, and the Rabbanim that do that for us. So it is really a real pleasure for me to be able to have in our shul and our kehillah for the entire city this evening with the COR. So we have the opportunity to learn more, to grow more, and to be able to have even more enjoyable Pesachs all together as we get through the next few weeks as a community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi Rothman. Hello, everyone. My name is Richard Rabkin. I am the managing director of the COR. Sometimes people ask me what that means, and well, I kind of respond, I guess I manage and direct. That's really the best answer that I can come up with. So right now, I'll be doing a little bit of managing, a little bit of directing. So first of all, we want to give thanks to Rabbi Rothman, the entire shul, for organizing the event. We really thank you very much for this, and we're excited to be here with you. And of course, we thank all of you for coming and joining us. We're very excited about that as well. So let me just do this quickly. I'll do a few housekeeping items. The first one is that if you signed up for the draw with Sarah Rosen outside, then at the end of the evening we're going to have a raffle for a $50 Sobeys gift certificate. Comes in handy. So if you didn't do it, I think she's there for a couple more minutes, so you can still put your name in. This is the way that the evening is going to work. We're going to have about half of the time or so with our Pesach FAQs, right? These are the most common things that come up. And then for the last half, we're going to do a little bit of an insect cleaning demonstration, right? Because when it comes time for Pesach, we're eating the products that are on the shelves of supermarkets, but of course we're trying to be healthy and we're eating our fruits and vegetables as well, so we want to make sure that we're cleaning them in the proper way. So Rabbi Rosen is going to take us through that. And during the Pesach FAQ part, feel free, if you have a question, to shout it out, but we really need to keep moving because we've got a lot to cover today, so you may find me managing, directing you if you're asking too many questions. I have to clamp down on it, but please feel free to ask some questions, but we'll try to keep on moving. And at the end of the event, we'll be available for questions, Rabbi Rosen, Rabbi Brogdon, and others. There will also be a Marv service at the end of the event as well, and Rabbi Rothman will give us that information when the time comes. So I think that is the basic rundown. I want to introduce our beloved Rabbi Rosen. He is the rabbinic coordinator at the COR. He is also our Pesach specialist. He mans the questions line and the text a rabbi line. He is that rabbi who texts those questions. So when you email to questions@cor.ca, that's him. It's me, by the way. I get a CC. I just like to see what's going on, what are the interesting questions that are happening. But that's him answering the questions, and we're very excited to have him here today, and we're excited to be with all of you. So without further ado, Rabbi Rosen.
Good evening. Can't see it. Okay. As my name is Rabbi Rosen. I'm a local. I live right around the corner here in Thornhill. So thank you everybody for coming out. I see a lot of familiar faces. What is our objective here tonight? Of course, we're going to go through a lot of information, a lot of questions which are brought up throughout the Pesach season, and that information alone is going to be very valuable information. But what I think my main objective over here is to open up to the community who are here in large, that we want to encourage people to always ask their kosher questions to us, questions at COR.ca. We're always available for your kosher questions. Now, why is that my objective over here? So, I made Pesach for the first time in my own home about 5 years ago. But I've been observing Pesach my whole life. My wife has been observing Pesach her whole life. So we figured, what's going to be so difficult? We'll go to the supermarket, we'll buy our products, and we'll be able to make Pesach. Lo and behold, we were surprised. We were at a loss, and there were so many questions that came up as we were going through our Pesach shopping. Now, I'm fortunate to have my father, Rabbi Rosen from Baltimore in the Starkey, who is a COR-s administrator. And what I basically did was took my father with me shopping. I was on the phone with him from aisle to aisle, and question after question, I was able to ask him all the questions which I had. And based on that experience, I want to be able to give that opportunity over to whoever would like to take advantage of that. That's why we have introduced the text-to-question service, because you're in the supermarket, you see something quickly, you just want to know, is this a good hechsher, does this need a hechsher? And it's a very valuable, and it's not so stressful on the COR to deal with these questions, these quick answers, and people do need their information quickly. And that's why I encourage everybody to please take advantage of these services which we provide. When we introduced this service last year, so I had a particular friend who used it quite religiously, and he texted me a question, and then 2 minutes later another one, and as I realized that the series of questions were coming, I realized he was going through the supermarket, and I was able to follow him through the supermarket virtually based on the 15 questions that he asked as he kept on going, and towards question number 16, 17, I said, oh, he's about to check out now. And it was a wonderful experience for me. It was a wonderful experience for him. He got his information. He was able to finish ask all his questions, and that is really the open invitation that we have, which we're offering over here, that everybody should please take advantage of it. The COR, myself, Richard, and Rabbi Adler, we were in Edmonton on Sunday giving the same lecture over there. And after the lecture, the local rabbi, Rabbi Friedman, he had the closing remarks, and I'll paraphrase what he said, and it was a really inspirational quote which he gave us. And he says that he has a level of confidence, and he sees a higher level of kosher observance in the congregants and the people in the community who come and ask him questions. And the people that are curious and that are looking to grow in their kosher observance, he sees that very clearly as an indication of people whose kosher observance are growing. And that observation by Rabbi Friedman and our appeal to the community to ask their questions is very true, and it's a unique opportunity which Toronto has, that we are so available at the COR to answer your questions, and that it's just an invitation to take advantage of that. We have a lot of information over here, so let's just get to it. We're going to start with some products which are the non-edibles, Pesach questions. So we start our Pesach preparations with cleaning, a lot of polishing, a lot of cleaning, a lot of soaps and detergents. So it's a general question, and what do we have to be concerned about when it comes to soaps, cleansers, detergents, polishes? There is no concern. All of these do not need a year-round hechsher, do not need a Pesach hechsher, and whether they come in contact with food, they don't come in contact with food, no hechsher is required. Disposable pans and foil. So there is no kashrus year-round or Pesach issue with the aluminum foil, with the foil pans. The grease that you sometimes feel inside a foil pan is mineral oil, which is petroleum-based. It's not a Pesach issue. It's not a kashrus issue. And all your foil pans and aluminum foil could be bought without a year-round or Pesach hechsher. These questions come up quite a bit. Instead of trying to describe each item, we'll have some props over here. So I can't exactly see the order on the screen over here. But with disposable plates and cups, what requires a hechsher? So we'll start with paper plates. These are regular paper plates. Now, some paper plates come coated, some come uncoated. Now, the cardboard which the plates are made out of, there is a starch which is used in the paper production. So the starch itself is a Pesach concern. Not a chametz concern, but a Pesach concern. So if it's an uncoated paper plate, best not to use it for anything warm or moist, anything which the starch of the plate might adhere to. Some people just avoid using the uncoated paper plates with direct food contact due to that concern. If it's coated, so then you can use it for moist food, but don't use it for warm food because the warmth might go through the coating and come in contact with the starch. Plastic plates, no issue, no kashrus, no year-round or Pesach issue with those at all. Plastic cups. So a regular plastic cup, again, no Pesach issue, no year-round issue. Paper hot cups or paper cups. So it's a piece of cardboard, and there's also a seam down the side. So the cup itself is coated, and therefore to use it for cold drinks is not a problem. However, on the seal there is a glue, and that glue might be Pesach concern, more kidneys than not a chametz concern. But therefore, it's best not to use it for hot drinks due to the seam. Dixie cups, we've done research, and there's no Pesach concern with Dixie cups. So I think that's available in Costco. So your Dixie cups are 100% permissible for both year-round and Pesach. Chinette is a regular uncoated paper plate product, and at this point, I believe it's not recommended for Pesach. Okay, styrofoam is not a Pesach concern, not a kashrus concern, and some plastic cups and some plates, they're made out of corn. Those are not a Pesach or a kidneys concern. The way that the plastic's made, it has the same status as regular plastic, and you could use it for how you wish. Paper towels. So typical paper towels, Rabbi Adler, when we were in Edmonton, he presented this because he has firsthand experience with it. But all paper towels, the way that they're manufactured and put on the roll, there's a special glue which glues the beginning of the roll to the paper towel roll, and then there's also a glue at the end to glue down the tail of the paper towel. Unless it's typically we would have to be concerned that maybe that glue is made out of corn or some kidneys. So it's recommended if you're going to be using your paper towels for direct food contact to not use the first 3 and the last 3 sheets of the paper towels for that concern. I have over here Sponge Towels Ultra, which it's available many places. This was in Dollarama. It has a COR on the back, no CORP, but it is 100% Pesach compatible. It has no kashrus concerns, no chametz concerns, no kidneys concerns. You could use the entire roll, Sponge Towels Ultra with the COR on the back. That's permissible for Pesach. Yes. Yeah, the Ultra. That's the one that's permissible. The other paper towels are permissible as well. Some would avoid wanting to put food directly on the paper towels. There is perhaps there's a glue that might put together the 2 plies of paper towels. Some people try to avoid, let's say, draining their schnitzel on their paper towels. Unless it's like something like this Sponge Towels Ultra, which we know that does not have any concerns. Parchment paper, Parchment paper is a special manufactured paper which is meant to avoid sticking. I've been to a parchment paper facility in which we explained to me basically what they do. That basic paper is quite porous, and they chemically work the paper to cut to seal the holes of the paper, and then in addition to that, they coat it with a coating, either Quilon or silicone. So during the year and during Pesach, it is a kashrus and a Pesach concern, so they should have a hechsher. All your parchment paper should have a hechsher year-round. And in addition to that, you also need to make sure it has a Pesach hechsher for Pesach. Specifically for Pesach, it turns out that any parchment paper which has a star K on it is permissible to use for Pesach, even though they don't put the P on there. They're all kosher for Pesach. Cupcake liners that does not have the coating, that is a kashrus or a Pesach concern. So you could buy cupcake papers for Pesach. The next question was my favorite from my first year in the COR. I called flour food the Erev Pesach question, because here it is, you've been preparing for Pesach, you've been buying all your products, and then you go Erev Pesach to buy a bouquet of flowers, and there's that little packet in there of flour food, and it looks white, it looks flowery, and it looks chametz stick a little bit. So what's the status? So the first year I had another friend who was emailing me every day, a couple times, Pesach questions, and it really worked out very nicely. I was able to answer his questions. And finally, in Erev Pesach, he emails me, he says, "What's with flour food?" And I was like, "I don't know." And he said, "Oh, finally, I got you. Have a good Yontif." So I had a job to research it. Basically, flour food is bleach with a sugar of some sort. Now, a sugar could be made out of dextrose, which could be a chametz concern as well. So the basic ruling for that would be dextrose, generally from Europe, would be a chametz concern. So if it says specifically on the package that it's made in Europe, maybe it's something you could just discard. But if it doesn't say any declaration where it's from, then you could use it. It's not a problem. Okay. Now we're going to get to some foods. So baby foods. So although, thank you very much. Perfect. So baby foods. You look at baby foods. It looks like a straightforward food. Carrots or whatever the food is. What could be the concern? So Rabbi Adler presented this because he has firsthand experience with baby food. Heinz, which was producing baby food in Leamington, so they had a special separate room which was used for the baby food products, extra scrutiny and make sure it's very sterile. On that equipment, not only they were cooking actual not kosher chicken and meat and all those, and on that same machinery they would do the regular baby food. So we had a system in place where there was koshering done in between products, and as well they were also cooking pasta for the babies as well. So there you have your chametz on the same equipment which was making the baby food, and we don't have a system in place where the ingredients are checked out to be kosher or Pesach, and for certain the machinery which is producing the food is chametz stick. So therefore, baby food is a Pesach concern unless it has a Pesach hechsher. We have on this slide the baby formula. Baby formula is typically there is a long list. We have one on our Pesach guide, and we also have a longer list if you've come across another brand. Many of them are kosher Pesach, but they're all kitnius, and there was no concern of a baby eating kitnius. That was not enacted when kitnius was enacted. It doesn't apply to the babies. So if it's chametz free, you could give that formula to the baby. If it's for sure chametz free, that has to be verified. But since it is kitnius, so it should be prepared with different utensils than your regular food. Baking powder. Yeah, go ahead, please.
So then, what about washing the
Right. So it should be rinsed. It should be rinsed in a separate sink. Yeah. There's the bathrooms in my house when we had like a lot of different bottle making paraphernalia on Pesach. So that used to be the station for that. So baking powder versus baking soda. Baking soda is not a kashrus or a Pesach concern. However, baking powder, which is basically baking soda plus a starch, so that is not a kashrus concern, but it is a Pesach concern. So you have to make sure that your baking powder has a Pesach hechsher. Club soda versus seltzer. Thank you. So they're both artificially carbonated waters. However, they are carbonated in different ways. Club soda is carbonated through minerals and other added ingredients. So therefore, club soda requires a hechsher, needs a Pesach hechsher for certain. Club soda is seltzer is just water with bubbles, carbon dioxide added. So if your product says water plus CO2 plus carbon dioxide, then it does not need a year-round or a Pesach hechsher. Soda stream. So if you just clean your year-round soda stream machine well, replace the bottles that you use year-round, it's not going to be an issue. The cylinders itself have no kashrus or Pesach concern. Okay, now the Perrier. So the non-flavored ones has an OKP on them, but the flavored, the ones with lemon, just has a plain OK, and it's not for Pesach due to the fact that it's flavored.
Excuse me, in past years, the COR said the PC Club soda was always fine. Why the difference?
Okay, so since I've been in the COR, it has not been recommended. Okay, sure. No, it has a bunch of ingredients in the PC club soda. Okay, so coffee and tea. I can't exactly see the order over there. Should I just do it on my own? Or? Okay, so this is just to make it clear because it always gets confusing. Coffee. So there's brewing coffee. Brewing coffee is taking coffee beans and you grind them in your coffee grinder and you go through a drip. Coffee, plain, unflavored, non-decaffeinated coffee beans are not a kashrus concern, not a Pesach concern. So these could be used without a Pesach hechsher. If it's flavored, it's decaffeinated, so then it will require a Pesach hechsher. Yes? So even if they claim it's a Swiss water, we can't guarantee that it's exclusively the Swiss water beans in there. It is found to be that there are some other ones mixed in. Can't guarantee it, and therefore we would only recommend it with a Pesach hechsher. Unless you know firsthand, we won't be able to just say that it's acceptable as it is. Okay. I'm sorry? K-cups. So K-cups is also brewing coffee, which would theoretically not be a Pesach issue. However, there are some brands that they do add some extra flavors or instant coffee to the K-cup. So the general rule is that even plain unflavored K-cups, they do require a Pesach hechsher. However, all the K-cups with a COR on them, we've done our research from our different coffee companies, they are all just plain ground coffee, and those could be used without a Pesach hechsher. Decaf, like we mentioned before, decaffeinated, yes?
When you say for the K-cups, then when you want to, what happens to the machine?
The machine does have to be koshered for Pesach. It's a little bit involved how you kosher it for Pesach. You could email me and we could give you the instructions. It's kind of detailed, so I wouldn't be able to do it just over here. Yes? I'm sorry? If you have a... If it's used year-round and if there's heat involved and it's in your year-round kitchen, I wouldn't recommend it. I would imagine it would need to be koshered. And if there's plastic parts in there, so then it's not kosherable. So that would be an issue. Okay, so decaffeinated coffee, like we said, that needs a Pesach hechsher. Maxwell House decaffeinated coffee has an OKP, so that's acceptable for Pesach. Folgers, regular and decaffeinated coffee also is acceptable for Pesach, even if it doesn't have the OKP. Now, the confusing brand is Nescafe. Nescafe makes two types of coffee. One is called Taster's Choice and one is called Rich. Now, Taster's Choice is acceptable for Pesach, whether it has a hechsher, no hechsher, it's acceptable for Pesach. This is the caffeinated. The decaffeinated one is not acceptable for Pesach unless it has a Pesach hechsher, but regular Nescafe Taster's Choice is acceptable for Pesach. Nescafe Rich is not acceptable for Pesach unless it has a Pesach hechsher. There's very few of them that do, but the general rule is Taster's Choice is acceptable, Rich is not acceptable for Pesach. Okay. Tea. So tea. Black and green tea, if it's just plain tea, is acceptable for Pesach. But if it's decaffeinated, if it's herbal, if it's flavored, then those do require a Pesach hechsher. Okay. Before we move further, any other questions? Yes, please.
So the black tea does not include orange pekoe?
Orange pekoe is a black tea. It's a black tea. Yes. So orange pekoe tea is included in the black tea, which is acceptable for Pesach. The surprising question that we got last year, and I just wanted to make it clear, we started getting questions coming in. Could I go to Tim Hortons and buy a coffee on Pesach? And I was surprised by the question. The answer is no, you can't. And it came up and up again, and then we put it on the social media. You cannot go to Tim Hortons, and the first response I got was like, "Oh my goodness, it's too late." It's just, you should not be going to Tim Hortons and getting a coffee there on Pesach. Any uncertified certified coffee house. People ask if they could bring their coffee beans into a coffee shop and have them grind their beans. They do give that service, or in the supermarket. I couldn't. And it's difficult to nail down that it's for sure forbidden, but it's a chametz environment. For sure the coffee shop is a chametz environment. I strongly recommend against it, and therefore it's best not to have it be ground in the supermarket or in the coffee shop. However, if you buy ground coffee where it's ground in the roasting house where they're only doing coffee, that's not a concern. Yes?
Herbal teas?
So herbal teas needs a Pesach hechsher. Yeah.
Okay.
Frozen fish. So when a fish is cut, it's pretty clear. It's not so clear even if it's not cut. They need to be, if they're going to be frozen, there's an issue that they might become freezer burnt, and how is that protected? So some of them, they're vacuum packed and they don't have a concern. However, some of them, the companies do something which is called glazing the fish, which is basically coating them with water and flash freezing them, and that locks them in, that they won't become freezer burnt and they don't get dried out. However, some companies, they add some ingredients to that glaze, and corn syrup is a possibility of being added to that glaze, unless you could verify somehow that it's not glazed or it's glazed just with water and salt. But if it's just your typical frozen fish, it does require a Pesach hechsher. The frozen salmons, which are found in Sobe, in Sobe's perhaps, but in Costco that comes up a bunch, the Kirkland, get the names straight, the Kirkland frozen wild sockeye salmon is, the OU says it's okay for Pesach. They just recommend rinsing it before use. The Kirkland frozen farmed Atlantic salmon is okay as it is. In addition to that, there's an Olivia brand frozen salmon, which has the KF hechsher, and that's acceptable for Pesach. If you buy, yes?
There was one time that everybody was saying not to buy wild salmon. When you buy wild, it has a problem.
Yeah, that's the question was if you could buy wild salmon without a hechsher. That's a year-round question. COR policy, and basically just the nature of what it's not an issue. So you could buy that wild salmon year-round. Fresh fish. you could buy it from the supermarket as long as it has a skin patch on it, but you have to bring it home, wash it well, and scrub it unless it comes with a hechsher. I'm sorry? No, that requires a Pesach hechsher. All smoked, seasoned fish, that requires. So the question was about lox, smoked fish, that requires a Pesach hechsher automatically. Okay. So frozen fruits and vegetables. So frozen fruit, if it's just the fruit, and even if it has just added sugar but no other ingredients, that is acceptable year-round and Pesach without any hechsher. If there is a infestation issue with that fruit, so then you have to deal with it as if it's infested. But as far as the fruit itself, it's okay without a hechsher. Yes.
Frozen fruit, so even strawberries that are, because at Costco they sell a bag that's like the whole strawberry.
Yeah.
With an OU on it, and then they sell another bag that's like all sliced up without the shkacha on it.
Right. So
Both are okay.
So both are okay. Both those strawberries are okay, even though strawberries is a fruit, a vegetable, a fruit that has issues with infestation. The washing, which is done in the factory level for these strawberries, is sufficient for frozen strawberries. Not to be confused with fresh strawberries, but frozen strawberries is acceptable even without a hechsher. And even if it has just sugar, but if it has any citric acid, ascorbic acid, any other preservatives or added ingredients, that would require a Pesach hechsher.
I see bags of frozen apples without a hechsher.
Those the frozen apples would be okay. Yeah, if it doesn't have any added ingredients, correct.
They're also fresh.
If it has no other added ingredients. If it's just sliced diced apples, that's okay.
And even peeled, sliced, frozen apples.
That's correct. Yeah, frozen apples is okay. Yes.
Sorry, getting back to the frozen fish.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Costco fresh salmon, what do you do with any
Yeah, okay, so salmon, I just said fish in general. Salmon would be okay without the skin on due to the color. But again, you have to wash it and scrub it before you could be considered kosher.
You're saying you can buy fish, Costco fish, white, with the white meat.
No, if it's white, you cannot buy it unless it has skin on it. Correct.
I don't understand what you meant by a patch.
Oh, a skin patch. It's a piece of skin on it. Yeah. Yes.
Is this carte blanche, that is to say, from any place that the vegetables come from, frozen vegetables?
So we've only discussed fruit so far.
Sorry, fruit. Anywhere they come from if they're frozen?
That's correct. That's correct. Okay, it's debatable if it comes from China. I haven't seen frozen fruit from China. They okay. If it's from China, some people would prefer to avoid it. Yes. Any other questions? Okay, let's move on. It's frozen vegetables. So although during the year your frozen peas, carrots, corn, string beans does not require a year-round hechsher. However, on Pesach it does require a hechsher. Frozen vegetables go through a process called blanching, which is a little bit of a cooking. Sometimes it's done on the type of machinery which you can see in the picture over here, but sometimes it's done in a type of drum, and that drum would also at times cook pasta in there. So on the factory level, so therefore frozen vegetables requires a Pesach hechsher. All frozen vegetables, yes.
So just running back to the
The reason why I didn't mention frozen spinach is because frozen spinach needs a hechsher year-round because of the infestation issue. Yes?
Just going back to the fruit for a second.
Yeah.
During the year, all frozen food is okay, regardless if it has citric or...
So if it's just citric acid, it's okay year-round. If it's
Just because of Pesach.
But it's a Pesach issue, the citric acid, yes. Okay, let's move further. Fruits and vegetables, okay, you're going to have to tell me what's the first one. Dried fruit. So dried fruit. In part of the drying process, a lot of times flour is added to the process, so therefore they do require a Pesach hechsher. Rice flour is commonly used in apricots, oat flours in cut dates, and soy oil is used in raisins. So That is why they need a hechsher. Sun-made raisins and sun-sweet prunes, which have a triangle KP, those are acceptable for Pesach. Next. Mushrooms, sliced mushrooms, dried mushrooms found in the supermarkets. Those are acceptable year-round. Pesach, not an issue. They could be bought without a year-round or a Pesach hechsher. And baby carrots does not need a year-round or a Pesach hechsher. However, bagged salads does require the treatment which is given. There's some things added at times to the water, so that does require a Pesach hechsher.
Year-round, no?
Year-round, you'll need it because anyway you're going to need a hechsher on the bagged salads because of infestation. Okay, canned fruits and vegetables. I'm sorry? Dried mushrooms does not need a year-round or a Pesach hechsher.
Any kind of dried mushroom? Does it matter what?
Mendel, which is the shiitake mushrooms? Oyster mushrooms is the oyster mushrooms should be avoided due to infestation on the dried.
But all the others are fine.
Okay, portobello also might need to be treated for infestation as well, but your shiitake, your button mushrooms, those ones are okay as is. Dried, fresh, yeah.
Costco sells a mixed box.
Right, I believe they have some oyster. I think they have oyster mushrooms in there.
You never buy that. Okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yes. Yes. Okay.
I have a couple of veggie questions. About salads, you can also get those plastic containers of hydroponics.
Okay.
I don't usually buy them, but someone else mentioned them, so I don't know what those.
Okay. I'm not. So hydroponics. So you want to know about infestation issues?
Yeah.
I believe they have the same issues. No. Yes. So we have Rabbi Mendel Bragna and a bunch of other COR mashgichim who are experts in the field of insect infestation, and that would be a concern as far as infestation is concerned.
Then I have another question. You're talking about baby carrots. Similarly, you get more potatoes in bags. Someone once told me that you should buy them, or you should buy the ones that are red.
So the red is not. The question was about peeled potatoes. I'm not certain, but the red potatoes they're not an issue. They're not an issue. I got that question today. Okay, moving right along. So canned fruits and vegetables, they all need a hechsher. Okay.
They told us not to use red potatoes because there was a dye.
Yeah, it's. I'm not sure if that's unfounded, but the research that I've been given, that's not a Pesach concern. Coatings on produce is not a Pesach issue, not a year-round issue. Honey and maple syrup. So recently, I was asked to certify a maple syrup facility, and it was very fascinating. We're Canadians, so some quick facts about maple syrup. Typical maple tree is tapped, and 40 liters of sap comes out of a single tree. But from those 40 liters of sap, you boil it down to 1 liter of maple syrup. That's pretty cool. Now, in this facility, they also they were coming under COR, Jakeman's. You'll be seeing their products. They also produce other maple products. And the way that they do that, they have this modified pan, which had like a little spout or a snout coming out of the side, and they called it a pig. So when we were kosherizing the facility, and we were kosherizing this pan, I said this is the first time in history that we actually kosherized a pig. So maple syrup, like what I found in this facility, they used machinery, and their filter was actually used originally for wine, and so therefore that amongst other issues, there's a kashrus and a Pesach concern when it comes to maple syrup, and therefore they should have a year-round and a Pesach hechsher. Honey, in addition to common machinery issues, also it's commonly adulterated, especially honey from China, and therefore honey requires a year-round and a Pesach hechsher. However, I'm just looking at the email I got today about Billy Bee honey. We just want to get the exact wording because that's fresh off the press. Yeah, so just opening this up from. If you want to use the Canadian and Argentinian blend of Billy Bee honey, that does not require the kosher for Pesach Hechsher. So, and Canadian. Yeah. I'm sorry? No, it doesn't have to be a blend. As long as it says it's from Argentina or from Canada or both, that's okay, even without a Pesach Hechsher. Yes. I'm saying the Chinese one is where we're finding the issues. The Chinese honey. Yes. Raw honey. So again, unless we could figure out where it's coming from exactly, and it has to be unpasteurized as well.
Like if it's raw honey and it has a year-round kosher.
If it's raw honey, has a year-round kosher. Again, it has to be unpasteurized for it to be considered acceptable for Pesach. Unpasteurized as well. I'm sorry? Oh, because it's raw. So yeah, so raw, unpasteurized, it comes with a year-round hechsher, that would be acceptable for Pesach.
Not from China.
But not from China, correct. Yeah. Yes?
Maple syrup, I thought that they used the problem that they used to cure cancer or something.
Okay, so the question was what some other concerns about maple syrup. We have to move along, but there's something called a defoamer, which when they're boiling it up, a lot of times a lot of bubbles come, and they traditionally defoamed it with lard. That's sometimes done, not such a global concern, but that's probably what you're referring to. Okay, let's move right along. Okay, milk. And so milk, there's added vitamins, and it could be produced on chametz equipment. Therefore, it requires a year-round and a Pesach hechsher. The minig is to buy milk before Pesach. There's a minig to buy eggs before Pesach, and all your other dairy products require a Pesach hechsher. Liquid eggs. So.
You want to know why?
Why? What?
Why to buy it before?
Okay, so it's a minig, and the minig is the reason why there's a minig to buy milk and eggs before Pesach is because the chickens and the cows are fed chametz, and therefore there was the minig to buy the products before Pesach, because then there's some leniencies which would apply by buying it before Pesach. If there's a way to verify that it was milked before Pesach, that would also be suffice. But that's brought down that the minig is to buy before Pesach unless there's a need, and then you don't have to avoid buying it on Pesach if there's a need. But just keep that minig in mind when you're doing your purchasing. Yes.
So I'm a little confused. So what you're saying is you should buy it before Pesach?
It's best to buy your milk and eggs before Pesach.
Then what happens if you're not finished it before Pesach?
If you're not,
Finished.
No, for use on Pesach.
you buy it before Pesach for your Pesach use. It's best to not buy it on Pesach itself. Yes. Yeah.
Acceptable no matter what ingredients or whatever.
No, but it has to have a Pesach hechsher. Yeah, yes. Yes. Yeah, I besides the Chalav Yisrael, I mean Nielsen and the Agripores, they have the automatically, or you have to look for them. There's a sticker on their products which have that Pesach production done.
All the stores that carry.
Right, exactly. The stores here in Toronto which carry the Pesach products do have kosher for Pesach milk. Okay, we have to move along. So special for this year, liquid eggs. A big Asher Koyach to Richard Rabkin, who was instrumental in getting the Nutri Supreme, something like that, no? Liquid eggs with a kosher for Pesach hechsher on them. The liquid egg whites are available in your local retailers, and liquid whole eggs, you could pick it up from the company. You could contact us how to get there. So it's available at Sobeys. It's available at Kosher City. It's available at Tabs, Savers, and No Frills on Wilson for sure. It's Nutri Supreme.
I think so.
Nutri.
I'm Googling it right now. I will.
Okay, there you go.
It's inside the garden. I have it added to the garden.
I'm looking at it right now.
No, it's not that one. Okay. Oils. Okay, so Oils. Oils, it turns out there is no oil that you can buy that does not require a Pesach hechsher. Yes. So there was the question now, traditionally extra virgin olive oil was assumed to not require a Pesach hechsher. However, the Italian government has uncovered that there is tremendous adulteration done in the extra virgin olive oil industry, a very, very high percentage, and for us to endorse it for Pesach, we're not comfortable doing that. It's not just the COR. Many kosher agencies have adopted that same policy. There is extra virgin olive oil with a star KP, OUP available and acceptable for Pesach, but to buy it without a hechsher, without the Pesach hechsher, would not be advisable for Pesach. Yes?
I know that it used to be Spectrum coconut oil.
Okay, so the question was about Spectra coconut oil. That was true until last year. I called the OU specifically this year to verify, and they told me that Spectra coconut oil requires the Pesach hechsher this year.
Is there any coconut oil?
That's a good question. I've been asked that. I'm not familiar.
Is that Star K's position too?
That they don't know where coconut oil is?
No. Star K had a
Olive oil, yes. The Star K goes with that policy that.
No, it was the Spectrum Extra Virgin. Star K had a policy that was acceptable.
It has an OU hechsher in it. I called the OU. The OU said they're not accepting it for Pesach. They're the certifiers. I didn't verify what the Star K's position of that is. Okay.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, please.
If you go to Costco, if you want good olive oil, they have organic olive oil with the hechsher on it. Is it
It's probably a Star KP.
Star KP. And
Yes.
it's organic
OUP and
and
a
it's
Star
a
KP.
big bottle.
2 liter for $15.
Yes. We even have pictures of that. Yeah, okay. Sugar. One of my favorite responsibilities in the COR is to certify Red Path sugar. Okay, one second. Yeah. I love cottonseed oil. That's right. I don't know. I enjoy the kitchen, but I can't.
Can you speak about kidneys?
We'll see if we have time when we get to there. Hopefully. Yes.
Doesn't the OU say that extra virgin olive oil, as long as it has an OU?
Again, so the question was, is that the OU's position? The OU has not adopted this position, but this is the COR's position.
And is it Italian olive oil or it's
All olive oil. They adulterate it there, they adulterate it here. It's a big business. So I do certify Red Path sugar. It's fascinating. The floors are sticky, which is pretty cool. White sugar does not require a year-round or Pesach hechsher. However, brown sugar, which is just sugar with added processed sugar, not even molasses, it's just processed sugar, requires typically a year-round and it requires a Pesach hechsher. I don't think it needs. I'll check again. Off the top of my head, I don't remember if it needs a year-round hechsher. Red Path brown sugar does not require a Pesach hechsher. It is kosher for Pesach year-round. Okay. Yes. Molasses requires a Pesach hechsher. Well, I'm sorry. Molasses is basically things which, when they're refining sugar, the byproduct of that is molasses, which is refined further beyond that. But I think common machinery and other concerns.
Is there a difference between loose and cubes?
Yeah. So sugar cubes, Red Path sugar cubes, or white sugar cubes do not require a Pesach hechsher, and brown sugar cubes from Red Path, apparently they make it. I've never seen it. Do not require a Pesach hechsher. Okay, confectioner sugar, which is powdered sugar with a flowing agent added, typically cornstarch, obviously now would require a Pesach hechsher to make sure they're using permissible starches. Salt, we'll move on to salt. What do we have? Nuts. So whole nuts, nuts in the shell, raw nuts, They do not require a Pesach hechsher unless, the shelled nuts, if it says on the package, and this is a rule for all nuts, that says may contain wheat, soy, mustard, all these allergens, that would be a Pesach concern. If it is roasted, then it requires a Pesach hechsher. If it's ground, it requires a Pesach hechsher. If it has BHT or BHA, which are preservatives added, so then that requires a Pesach hechsher. And pecans, pecan halves and shelled pecans, if it's whole, does not require a Pesach hechsher if it's raw. But if it's pecan pieces or midget pecans, those are typically soaked or could be soaked in alcohol as a way to avoid it from becoming rancid, and that would therefore require a Pesach hechsher.
What about raw cashews?
Right, so those would not raw cashews would not require a Pesach hechsher as long as it does not have an allergen declaration on the package. Yes. Again, if it's not pieces, if it's the halves, and again, it does not have I don't know if they have the declaration on it, but if they do have the declaration, so then it's not acceptable for Pesach. If it has a declaration saying it may contain wheat or soy, so then, or packed in a facility which does, that would not be allowed for Pesach.
So raw almonds are allowed too?
Raw almonds, again, without the declaration. Yes, Rabbi Brogdon is bringing up a very good point. Buying them in bulk from the bulk stores, not recommended. There's so many things, for Pesach, there's so many things which get the bins are correct. So those bins, they get okay. Did we do salt yet? We didn't do salt. Salt. So salt, rock salt does not require a Pesach hechsher. Sea salt does not require a Pesach hechsher. Iodized salt requires a Pesach hechsher due to added ingredients which are there to avoid the oxidation of salt. The next slide is my favorite one. Everybody, brace yourself. Chicken. Okay. First of all, this is Richard Rabkin visiting the kosher chicken facility in New York, and it was a very exciting day. But we owe a big debt of gratitude to Richard Rabkin and the others involved in the COR, not myself, who were instrumental in getting soon to be running the new kosher chicken processing plant, Premier Kosher, and a big yasher kayach, just witnessing Richard's really dedication towards this project. It's many years in the making, and a big yasher kayach to him. Raw, unprocessed, unground, unseasoned chicken does not require a Pesach hechsher, but otherwise it does require a Pesach hechsher. But ground does require a Pesach hechsher, yes. Yes, are we pressed for time? So quickly. So I can't read what it says over there, but anise, caraway, cumin, coriander, dill, fennel, all those, some say it is our policy. It's not a Pesach concern, not kitnius. Nobody holds it's kitnius, but some have a custom not to use it. COR policy is to allow it. Again, you have to check to make sure that it can't be ground. If it's ground, it needs a Pesach hechsher. If you're buying it packaged, so then you would have to check for foreign grains in there. Curry is a spice blend, and that is a kosher hechsher, year-round hechsher, Pesach hechsher, no matter what.
I haven't seen it. That's the thing. I haven't seen it for Pesach.
Okay, I'm not familiar, but it's there's no spice called curry. It's a blend of many. It was very interesting. I was in a spice packaging facility, and this guy's been doing spices for the longest time, and I mentioned that to him. He says, "I never knew that." And the curry is a mix. Hemp and chia seeds as well are okay for Pesach.
Only in the form of the seed.
That's correct. It can't be ground unless it has a Pesach hechsher. Sorry? Flaxseed. I would like to say it's not. I don't have it written down over here, and off the top of my head, please email me. I have it written down, but not in my notes over here.
What about turmeric?
Okay. It's a root. I believe it does not need. Again, just email me. I don't have it on my notes over here. What did I say? Also for Pesach. Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Here is on our Pesach guide. It's called Nutri Supreme. These are the liquid eggs that we were talking about. We can pass it around.
Page
80. page 80. Okay. Quinoa, in a very, very small nutshell, quinoa meets all the characteristics of kitnius 100%. However, there's a debate about it due to the fact that it has been discovered and brought into the Jewish culinary more recently. It's an oversimplification of the question at hand, so if it's a new one, maybe it wasn't enacted with that. It's a big question. COR-s catering policy is to consider it kitnius. But since there is two positions on this, we tell you to speak to your rabbi. However, if you're going to be using quinoa on Pesach, it has to come with a Pesach hechsher.
Yeah, I found out the hard way. There's regular quinoa that has a hechsher, but not for Pesach.
Not for Pesach, correct. So that would need a Pesach hechsher.
Okay, I think that is.
Yeah. Soy, almond, and rice milk made on the same machinery. There's chametz enzymes used to produce the milk, so therefore they're not recommended for Pesach. Rice, okay, so basically if you're Sephardic and you eat rice on Pesach, enriched rice, white rice, I don't know if enriched rice would be an issue. I'm not sure if all white rice, in the United States, all white rice is considered enriched and is not permissible on Pesach. I don't know if that applies in Canada, but at this point it seems like it is. So white rice would not be allowed for Pesach. However, all the aromatic rices, brown rice, those are permissible on Pesach, but you do have to check it 3 times like the minhag. Okay. Okay, yeah. So now we're moving on to insect infestation. Okay, there is a Gemara in Makos that says the following: Hashem did us a very big favor, and He gave us some mitzvos which we would have done anyway through our own common practice, but He made it into a mitzvah to give us more schar. He gave us some freebie mitzvahs, things that you would have done naturally, and He made it into a mitzvah, so by just doing what you naturally would like to do, you get a mitzvah. And Rashi over there explains, what's that referring to? Eating insects. Nobody wants to eat an insect. We'll see some of these insects close up. Nobody wants to eat an insect, so it's a freebie mitzvah. That's what the Gemara says. Based on that, I have a question. We all come to, there's when it comes to insect infestation in produce, sometimes it's overlooked. How could that be? It's a freebie mitzvah. So I think the answer to that is that if people are not aware of the insects which are in their produce, they don't see them, they're not aware of them, so it's not gross to them to eat these insects. But if you are aware of these insects, you won't come to eat a strawberry because you know you're eating a thrip, and these thrips are running around, and they're there, and they're alive. And if you're aware of them, then you won't eat a strawberry without cleaning it properly because you wouldn't want to. So part of that important education when it comes to insect infestation is to be aware and to be cognizant that they are there. And that's first step number 1, which you will just avoid eating produce that needs to be cleaned without cleaning it because you just would want to. That's just it. Now, there are a lot of insects which are found in your produce. However, some of them are not so stimulating or fascinating to those who clean their vegetables frequently because they wash off so easily. So if I go through my romaine lettuce and I see these flies, yawn, those will just wash off the same way that your dirt would. But there's 4 main insects which are commonly found. I just randomly bought a thing of romaine lettuce, and here we have a huge fly inside your romaine lettuce. Okay, it's gross, but it's not so fascinating because it will wash off very easily. And for those of you viewing at home, here we go. Put it down, okay? And now we'll show it on the projector. So that was a surprise, but they're totally there. Okay.
He's alive.
He's alive.
Make sure that he doesn't get up.
He's eating. He's eating. Give him salad. Not necessary. Okay. I have a couple objectives over here. We're not going to be able to go through every different variety of produce has their procedure. Now, there's some common procedures which overlap a lot of them. I'm just going to introduce some of the procedures, and then you'll have that as a point of reference when you're going to do your research about the different types of produce which you're going to be cleaning, and these are some of the techniques which are used. The first technique I want to show you is the concept of a light box. Now, to check a piece of lettuce, it's fairly light in here, but it's impossible to check this leaf because it's not translucent, and the bugs are camouflaged. But when you go onto a light box, it's incredible how much clearer it is. So without the light, you can see it on the projector. See, it's there, but you really can't see much of the lettuce. But you turn on the light, all of a sudden the light shining through the lettuce makes it very clear what we're looking for. And now, what's another important thing? We did find some bugs in this one before. What's very important is that it's integral to check both sides of the lettuce, even though it's very clear. Is this okay?
But did you soak it first?
No, this has not been soaked yet. Yeah, they got it. Okay, so over here we have a little thrip on this leaf over here. You see this little black dot over here?
No.
It's hard to see. We'll zero in. Zoom in.
We'll take the word.
There we go. You can totally see that. That little black dot is a thrip. So those are commonly found. Without proper cleaning, they are totally there. But yeah.
There's something else there. There's another one.
No other bugs. There's some discoloration on the leaf itself.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. Here's another one on the tip of the stem over here. How do we get onto the projector? This one's easier to see perhaps. On the tip of there's another thrip over here. But again, so this is important just to see how you have to use light. If you don't have a light box, you could use sunlight coming through the window. You could use the light from the electric lights. But when it comes to checking for produce, you need to have time and patience. If you're going to get fatigued by picking your hands up for all these leaves, then you're really not going to be doing the mitzvah of checking properly. And it is a mitzvah, and besides that, it's a responsibility to do that. So make sure you're not fatigued. One other thing about being aware of how to check produce. It's not restrictive. It makes you allowed to eat many more vegetables. Once I became more comfortable with checking vegetables, we had broccoli, fresh broccoli for the first time. But it does take time. It took me 15 minutes with being trained to check a stalk of broccoli. It's possible. It's not practical to be done by our caterers. 15 minutes for one head of broccoli when you have a constant for 600 people is not practical. And you really have to have a lot of patience. Can't have pressure, which is very often in a catering facility. But if you know how to check, then everything really becomes permissible if you invest the time in patience.
Did you have to check every single leaf?
Again, it's procedural. I can't go through everything. Typically, when you're at home, you're going to be checking every single leaf after you do your washing. In addition to that, yes.
By the, one that used to get the teeth and the bodas and all that, are we still checking things or we're not?
If they have a proper hefsher that they're bug-free, a lot of them do say, however, you have to wash them very well because they are grown in sand, which you're going to be cleaning them anyway. There are bugs found, but those are the washable bugs, the ones that wash up very easily. But you won't have to check for the thrips and aphids, which somewhat more adhere to them. But again, it has to have a reliable hefsher.
Where's that light box from?
The COR produced this, and we could
You sell them?
Make them available.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you sell them?
Okay.
Are they
Yes.
different than the old square ones?
Let's say any light boxes. Yes, go ahead.
I'm a little confused. You said that if the fruit is frozen,
Yes.
then it's okay. But if the bug is in the fruit, whether it's frozen or not, you're still eating.
Correct. So it's a very good question. Well, just a clarification, what we mentioned before, how could frozen fruit be acceptable? So if it's a frozen raspberry or frozen blackberry, that's not acceptable. That's one that has an insect issue. Strawberries, which does have an insect issue, but it is washed very well and effectively on the factory level, so that was a cleansing process which was acceptable. And the typical, we do spot checks in the COR on the ones that we certify, but the nature of the factory frozen strawberries, they are more robust, those strawberries, than the ones you buy fresh in the store, and they do have a very strong wash, and that is found to be effective. Yes?
If I have a light box that I use 12 months a year, am I allowed to wipe it down and use that for Pesach?
Yes, you are. At home, I cover it with saran wrap when I check my motor. Just the saran wrap, just because I get nervous putting anything, food directly on my year-round anything. So I just take saran wrap, cover my light box, my year-round light box, and I check my romaine lettuce that way. Yes?
So I'm listening to what you said about the washing procedure with fruit and strawberries, and sometimes, you know, you can buy these organic boxes of the different kinds of lettuce, and they must have a factory.
Okay, so we'll discuss fresh greens right now, okay?
But not, I'm not talking about the whole bed of romaine.
I understand. You're talking about this.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm just showing you, because it's baby spinach is easier to show you how we do a cleaning procedure, and we'll maybe address your question shortly, okay? So, now, just make this very clear. What I'm doing right now is not going to be exactly or even close to what you're supposed to be doing in your kitchen, due to the fact that I don't have a sink over here, which is integral. What we have over here is a number of receptacles, which we're going to be using all of them. We have the same ones. Yeah. We're very happy to be here. Okay. So now, the reason why I bought these pails, just keep this in mind, it has a spout at the end. We're going to be pouring the water out of many of these. So just keep in mind, when you're going to buy, if you want to buy something for your bug checking, it's good to have a spout, due to the fact that you're going to be pouring this out, and we'll deal with the other ones shortly.
Could you just put it in your sink plain?
We'll go through the process over here, and we'll see when that's possible. So here it is. I'm going to take my baby spinach, and we're going to put it into a basin filled with water. The ratio is 3 to 1. It should be 3 parts water to 1 part vegetables. I think I have too little water over here for actual cleaning. But let's get
warm water, cold water?
So no temperature is required. The only thing I would say, again, from the fatigue standpoint, if you're going to be using very cold water, your fingers get it's horrible, and you will probably come to check not so well. So keep that in mind. Wear gloves when you're checking your vegetables. Okay. In warm water. So whatever. Keep that in mind. Whatever you have to do. I'm sorry?
A lot of times these boxes or bags will say triple wash.
Okay, we'll get to there. But we're just showing. We'll get to there. Let's just get through the procedure over here. So now, my vegetables, my greens are soaking in this water. It's too little water, but just again, we're just showing for right now. I'm sorry?
Plain water.
So far it's plain water. Now, in order to, if there are bugs on these are not checked yet, so we don't know. But assuming that there are bugs on these vegetables, we need to put something on them that will have the bugs slide off. So the best thing for that would be something called a vegetable wash. Vegetable wash is excellent. There's a surfactants on there. The bugs slide off. My favorite vegetable wash is palm olive. Now it's really cool. Out west, they actually thought it was so effective they use it for dish soap. But you don't have to put too much. And if you put too much, it's no good because there's too many suds. So we're just going to put a little bit of a squeeze. That wasn't so much. Come on. You'll see. It doesn't make that much. And now we have to get every.
It requires a hectare?
No, it does not. We have to get every single. Get it well agitated and make sure the soap gets it. I agree with everybody. I probably did put in a little bit too much soap over here. I see the suds. There was a little bit too many suds over here. It should be a little bit less. It should be a little bit less. Okay. I'm sorry.
We're going to get the camera to show what you're doing.
Okay. So now, let's assume this was for a full minute. What we do now, a typical procedure, again, it depends on the fruit. Not everyone works this way, but is that we take little bit by little bit and pretend this is not a bucket. This is really running water, right? Running water. You're supposed to take it little bits. This might even be too much, and put it under running water. That every single leaf gets a strong stream of water. On each leaf. So small little handfuls and under your running water, and that's to start rinsing off because it's soapy, and that we hope that whatever insects were there are now they'll wash off much easier. So that's what the rinse is for. So again, small handfuls at a time, and just putting them in this water to make sure that they get rinsed off properly. Okay. Now, it's important to. Again, this is exactly supposed to be a couple seconds under the water, and we'll take it from there. So. Okay. So now you have your rinsed. You have all your rinsed your rinsed vegetables. Now you're going to want to. This water is no good because it's all soapy now. You're going to want to, after it's been rinsed, you're going to take your vegetables and put it in a clean basin, second basin, because this is not a basin. This is the sink. Put it in a third basin of just clean water. It's not going to be so good because we have too much soap over here, I admit. And this is going to be, this last soak is another cleanse, and it's also going to be the way you're going to check to make sure that our cleaning was done properly.
I heard somewhere that you could use soap and salt. Do you recommend that?
Soap is better.
No, soap and salt.
I mean, the more the merrier, but the soap is what is making it the bugs able to fly off. So now, what we have over here is, okay, again, as you see, you're 100% right, I used too much soap. So now, after this has been now soaked in the second basin, after it's been rinsed, now it's being soaked. So now what we're going to do is take out the leaves that have soaked, and it will totally have no soap in this one because it's going to be cleaned under running water, where all the soap would have been gone. Okay? So now, the reason why I got for this basin a clear basin is because even though we're going to show you a different process soon, if you don't have the kosher screen, which we're going to show shortly, it's good to have a clear basin because you could really theoretically check this basin at this point to see if your cleansing was done properly. And what you would do is take the basin of water and put it on the light box. Okay, and then you're able to look through the light box to see if you did it properly. Hopefully, that there won't be any bugs in the water. Now, it does take a lot of focus. It's a little bit more difficult to check the water because there's debris on many layers.
I don't see how women are going to sit and do this. I'll be quite honest. Okay, we don't have time. We don't have time to do this. Voting. It's called voting.
Okay. So now, I just want to point out over here, we'll hopefully see some more later. There are bugs, and I'll show you the bugs closer up in a moment. We can do that soon. Let's go through the...
Did the bugs float to the top?
No, they're everywhere. Okay, so this is just an illustration of how you could at home, if you don't have a kosher screen, which we're going to demonstrate now, a way to check the water through a clear basin. Now, what we have over here is a nylon sheet, which has a bunch of it's really a bunch of, it's a screen, and there's tiny holes over here, which the mesh is like 60 microns. Water flows through very, very quickly. However, any insect which is going to be an issue will be caught in this screen. So it's a very all of our shkichim are using this process in some way or another, depending which produce they're cleaning. And now the theory behind this is that the water will pass through, and then all the debris, including bugs, will be on one level. So, Chaim, do you want to hold it?
Where do you buy that piece?
So this is produced at the COR by Rabbi Rabbi.
Okay.
And it's available at the COR. You can contact us and we can get it to you.
Did you bring
So now,
we have some.
we have some.
Good.
Yeah. So now, what I'm going to do is just pour this water straight through the two strainers, which are holding the kosher screen in place. The water passes right through. Now, what you were supposed to do at home is now take this bucket and fill it again with water, give it another shake, because there could be things stuck to the side, and give it another pour. Now, the next step will be to check the screen. So what we're going to do, how do you check the screen? You take the screen and you put the screen straight on your light box. Okay? Now everything, all the debris is very flat. And, well, there is a lot of debris over here, so what we do is also have this spray bottle just filled with regular water, and by spraying, it's not too strong of a stream, it will spread the debris out to a more user-friendly single level of debris, and then you check your screen to see if there's any bugs. So now, again, we didn't do a proper wash over here, but here you have a thrip right over here.
Oh, where?
Right over here, and some other debris. Not sure if it's a bug. I have to concentrate stronger, but there's a thrip right over here. So now, yeah. So this is my bug pointer. It shows up in many pictures. So now, to your point, somebody asked about the triple washed spinach. This is triple washed spinach. It went through not such a good, but it went through a cleansing. Before the cleansing, I could go and can even check further the original water, which probably has more. But we have our washed spinach over here, which is infested. So to your question of, could we just rely on triple washed spinach or these leafy vegetables, unless it has a proper hefsher, we have to assume that it is infested. So from my experience, is all the ones that I've checked, they have been infested. So that's and this is already washed water. I'm sorry?
This was a triple wash?
This was, yeah. Or it's called this one's called a thoroughly washed.
It's not triple wash.
So I have, okay.
What's the difference between a triple wash and like when they do the strawberries, like if it's
yeah. So the strawberries are. The question was, why are we relying on the strong wash for strawberries and not? We see it's not effective on the leafy vegetables. So two reasons. First of all, the type of insects which are found on strawberries, which won't be able to see on the projectors but those wash off much easier. That's number one. And on the other hand, strawberries are much more robust than leafy vegetables. If you put them under a strong flume, you will not have any nice any leaves. So you could go to some facilities, and the triple wash is a trickle. It's not very strong. And also, triple wash, they recycle the same water 3 times. So they put the bugs right back in. So that's why, unless it has a hefsher, I actually, the first time I did this, it was a quadruple washed box of baby spinach, and we found more bugs in that one than any other ones that I've checked. So
Someone told me they put it in their washing machine. They put it in one of those bags, those like sealable bags, and they put it in their washing
So this is much easier. Much easier.
No, but it's not acceptable.
The bugs stay in the bag.
Yes. So the cheesecloth is the holes are too big, and the bugs you won't be able to see if you did a good cleaning because all the bugs will just go right through the holes. I don't know if those are fine enough to be used.
These are special. These are special.
I'm saying these are special cloths, right? I'm saying the holes in the cloth it's much bigger than the insect itself, and they'll wash right through. Or if you're putting it in a soup, they'll go right into your soup. So pick these up.
So what's the size that's considered to be a bug?
So the question was, what's the size that's considered a bug? The simple answer to that, well, it's not so simple, but the straight answer to that is that it has to be visible. Now, what does visible mean? Visible is not subjective. It is a clear. It's clearly visible by the trained eye. When I was getting used to looking for strawberries, so I couldn't find any bugs on strawberries. And then all of a sudden, when I got used to it, they're everywhere. So I went to Rabbi Felder and I said, it's amazing. Hashem only puts bugs into strawberries to people who know how to check for them, which is ridiculous, right? They're there, but just you have to be trained to see them. They're tiny, especially on strawberries. They're camouflaged. Everything that you think is a bug is not a bug. Anything you think is not a bug is actually a bug. Hashem made strawberries for this mitzvah. I mean, there's nothing to talk about. And if they're camouflaged, that's still considered visible. They're just camouflaged. So spider mites are tiny, but the trained eye, without any magnification, can clearly see them. And
they're walking around. Usually
they're walking around. On these strawberries over here, we saw a lot of them. The only reason I'm not confident that we'll see them where I found them is because they probably ran away.
How long does that go soak in the water?
Again, each one is depending on them. But typically, it's like a minute with agitation in the soap. Another minute or so in the second soak, but some of them need a 3-time soak. So and strawberries require some extra washing. So again, there's too many of them to go through them, but this is the procedures which a person should be aware of when they are checking vegetables. Right.
This isn't a Pesach issue. This is a year-round issue, really.
It's a year-round issue. It's a year-round issue. Yeah. Okay, checking on a flight. So here we go. If anybody wants to see, there's a. Oh, it's running quickly. It's running quickly. It's running quickly. One of them. Right there. Right there.
Need more light on top.
The light bulb.
There's no light.
Should I put my light from my phone? Is this
Okay, where is it?
Oh, now where is it? You got scared. It's camera shy. It totally was running pretty quickly.
It's a nocturnal animal.
No, this is the reason why when you're checking your strawberries, you can't cut the tops off until you get that hole, because these baby thrips, they run so quickly they'll run right into the hole. Right here we are. Right here we are. Does anybody see that yellow little line over there?
No.
Okay. Is the resolution good enough?
Put the light.
I'm trying to get my pointer out. This yellow line right here is a thrip.
Oh my God.
Now he is? He's running. I bothered him. Or her.
He's running? Is he running?
It's running around over here.
Really?
Okay.
So, and again, thrips, they colonize. So if we found this one, there's for sure others. And so again, as I mentioned before, now that we are aware that these, the more aware that we get, the more a person would want to avoid having these naturally. They would avoid having it due to the fact that they would want to have they don't want to eat bugs because they're disgusting. Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
I thought that there was something with baby spinach. Some people only check 10%. Like
True, that is a procedure, but so the question was, do you have to check only a percentage? Again, you have to refer to the different manuals that are out there, but they have to be washed properly beforehand. Maybe afterwards, when you're doing your spot checking afterwards, which is part of our procedure, you might have to check all of them, but the proper wash is totally necessary.
You said something about the strawberry.
So again, we're not going through.
Washes, like you're going to wash.
For baby spinach, you're going to go through this procedure, and then once everything is done, you're going to be checking 3 handfuls.
We have a
whether it's a big box, small box, you're mixing them up anyway. So then you don't have to check the whole thing. 3 handfuls would be sufficient. But again, it's not just it has to go through the cleaning procedure first.
About the strawberries, you
Yes.
said something was confusing about cutting off the top. So some people say don't, some people say do. What did you mean about cutting off the top?
So in our manual, we do recommend cutting off the green top head of the strawberry. More than anything else, if you have the top on here, the leaves will get in the way of the cleansing process of the water. Not as much necessarily that the bugs are hidden inside, regardless. But that would be the reason to do that. But if you cut it too deep and now there's the cavity, the hole, these baby thrips are quick and they want to hide, they'll run right in and the water will not be able to sufficiently rinse them out. Yes?
I think this is going to be the last question.
Okay.
I haven't seen anywhere how to clean a broccoli.
Right.
Do you have it in the website?
So again, our website it's very difficult. It takes a lot of aprias to be able to tell somebody how to check them. Our website does not do it because our caterers don't use it. We might be coming out with a household one. I'm not sure if they're going to be putting broccoli in there for the home. But come to me afterwards. Down the block.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to keep it here, if that's okay, just because for timeliness. So let's, if we can, a round of applause for Rabbi Rosen.